Welcome back to the After the License channel. We have an interview today with Figiel from Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome, Allie. How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on. So I follow you on Instagram and have seen you kind of post about being a real estate agent and have some good engagement. And so I wanted to bring you on. I know you kind of specialize in helping real estate agents with their social media presence. So I want to talk about your business and how you got into real estate and tips and tricks you have for folks on kind of the social media realm. How do you build your business in 2021 without doing the cold calling and door knocking and all that stuff? And how do you focus on social media? So before we get into all the fun social media stuff, let's just maybe talk about your background, how long you've been in real estate, where you live, how you got into real estate, and all of that fun stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and go Badgers or whatever, go Brewers. And I've been in real estate for about 6 years now, and I met my husband doing real estate, so now we're a team together. And before real estate, I was a dance teacher, so very different, and I never thought I would get into real estate, but it's kind of a really sad story, but I guess this is all about authenticity, right? So
Yep.
when I was teaching dance, it was kind of that moment of like, okay, if I was single at the time, if I'm going to be single, is my dance teaching career going to sustain me financially, which it wasn't at the time. And so there was no real opportunity for growth, I guess. So I had to kind of come to that painful realization. And then I was applying to all sorts of different jobs and I couldn't even get one. And then one time I had a phone interview and they forgot about it. And I just like cried. So really sad story. But then my friend owns a local brokerage in town. And he was like, oh, well, I'm looking for a buyer's agent. I think it'd be great. I was like, what's a buyer's agent? That sounds fun.
Yep.
Look at, nice houses all the time. You just think it's going to be like a piece of cake. I was like, sounds fun. So that's when I got started. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And here I am. I survived.
I love it. And that was kind of it. Like there wasn't a big draw for you to real estate other than you were kind of looking for something. You were looking for a place to hang your hat. So some people have like, I've always wanted to sell real estate or I always, love the shows. For you, it was just kind of like you had to make a living and this was an option that you kind of realized.
Yes. And I didn't own my own home at the time. I had never been through the process. I just thought it sounded fun. I had absolutely no idea what I was getting into.
Yep.
So yeah, I wasn't like dreaming of, who doesn't want to be a real estate agent though? Like you see the shows and like, oh, it just looks so fancy and fun. And that's not really what it's like when you get into it. So yeah.
So when you first started out, the team that you were a part of, did they have leads or did you kind of have to figure out your own business and you kind of stumbled upon social media, or like, what did that look like? Was there a couple of years where you were doing something else and you were like, I don't love cold calling. I don't, they're asking me to door knock and I don't love that piece of it. Was there a kind of a transition piece for you?
Yes. So I was on a team and we had like pay-per-click leads. So we had a website and then my team leader paid for people to come visit the web, somehow. I don't know how any of that works, but So I would get leads, and then if I didn't reply to them within 5 minutes, that was like the goal. It's like reply within 5 minutes. That's when you're going to get the most conversion, whatever. I would get yelled at if I didn't reply to them fast enough. And sometimes they come in like 10 o'clock at night. So you're just like always glued to your phone. So actually, I'm glad you brought this up because so I lasted in that team environment for like 10 months. And then I quit real estate. So I was like, I can't do this. This is so stressful. This like, oh my gosh, pounding the phones, like I just had a list of people I had to call every day. We did this thing. Oh my gosh, now I'm remembering all this terrible stuff.
I love it.
We did this thing called 10 Days of Pain. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, where you like harass people for 10 days and hope that they pick up the phone.
Yes. So it was like day one when they come in within 5 minutes, you have to call them, you have to text them, and you have to email them. And then there's certain steps of like numerous different ways you have to follow up with these people for 10 days straight until they say like, stop bothering me,
Yep.
And so that was really stressful. So we had, we were doing that, even though I was like, man, I would be really annoyed if someone was doing this to me. It's embarrassing that I am being told I have to do this, but I didn't know of any other way to do things. And so I kept falling short of that, and it was miserable. So I actually quit. And then I was in a position where I was helping new agents get started into the business, and, just doing their paperwork and like organizing all the different trainings for brand new agents that got started.
Yep.
So I did that for a while, and then took all of these training classes, and I was like, okay, screw this 9-to-5 stuff. I'm going to get back in the business.
Yep.
And so then I got started again, and I didn't have as much of a structured, like, this is how you need to follow up with people. This, I was on another team, but it was structured much differently. So I was kind of in charge of getting leads myself. And so I did a lot of open houses, and, those are really fun because you spend like your whole afternoon on Sunday sitting in an open house. And then I still had dance rehearsals I was going to on Sunday evening. So, and I would just occasionally post on social media. My friends started like knowing me as a realtor instead of a dance teacher. And then it was just interesting because I had been doing all of these like sales tactics, and like I was trained to learn all of these scripts and stuff. And it was interesting because none of that worked for me. And then I would start seeing, my friends would start contacting me on social media, like, hey, we're thinking of buying a house. Like, can you help us? Or like, hey, what do you think about this or this? And I was like, okay, well, why am I spending all of my time and stressing out so much about this? Like trying to cold call people and like get a random list of people I don't even know where they're from. And just calling them, like, why don't I put more of my effort into my sphere? And so that's kind of where like things switched for me. It's exhausting to like door knock, and oh my gosh, I did that once and it was just so embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the pro too is if you can tap into your sphere of influence and people you already know, those are the people you want to work with anyways, right? Not someone that went through the 10 days of pain and, it just happened to reply back, or, it was like a timing thing. It's the people that are connected with you and like your content and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to today, 6 years have gone by, right? You have a team with your husband, right? You guys close, I think 20 to 30 deals a year, right? And all of that is from social media. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's all, everyone contacts us through our social media channels, which is really interesting. But it's all people we know and people that like our sphere knows. So it's all referrals. But every time someone contacts us, it's through Facebook Messenger or replying to some post or attending an online seminar we host. So
that's fantastic. So
go ahead.
Your business is 100% kind of now, your focus on, like, when you do lead gen, it's really just content, social media, and reaching out and kind of building relationships through social media.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
I love that. So do you want to talk about kind of maybe your approach now? Like, what does that look like in 2021? Like, how do you guys approach social media, and maybe some tips you have for agents too on how they might start to think about this and structure it for themselves?
Yeah. So, and I'm super excited to be talking about this today because I feel like when I started, sorry, this was not your question, but I think it's important too.
No,
when I started,
please.
there was no, people weren't teaching this, at least where I was looking, my trusted sources, or where I was told I was, what I was told I was supposed to learn, they weren't really teaching a good way to do social media. And so I had it in my brain, like, oh, that's just a waste of time. That's not how you really build a business. Yep. Which I wish I would have looked into other, ways of learning about it from the start. Anyways, so today, we do focus, our primary source of leads right now is Facebook. And I also post a lot on Instagram as well, but most of our leads are coming in through Facebook right now. So that's kind of where we focus, is Facebook and Instagram. We've done a few YouTube videos, but we haven't really put a ton of effort into it. But what we really focus on is being authentic on social media. And our main goal is like building a community of people on social media. So I think, you know, in the beginning, I was like really obsessed with trying to be perfect on social media. And, you know, I wanted people to see me as being super professional, and like, I felt like I had a lot to prove because, well, like I said in the beginning, like I didn't know anything about real estate when I first started, and everyone saw me as, oh, Miss Allie, the dance teacher, and now I've got to be like Allie, the realtor, and I know what I'm doing all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So it did take me a while to like find my I don't know, ground, I guess, on social media. But now we are very open on social media. We do my husband and I do a lot of videos together. And oh my gosh, like if you see any of them, they're really embarrassing because, you know, we're just really real. So, you know, we try to just do like one take of a video and don't edit it. And, you know, we're sometimes arguing and fighting on the camera, or, you know, we say something really dumb, and like, it's fine. Like, we're just very real, and we're all about not being shy about sharing our stories, and, you know, just that authenticity without it being like, oh, I don't know, you know, just a sob story. But it's about building, like bringing those people online along with you on your story and inviting them in to what life is like with you. And I think that really builds that trust factor.
Yeah.
And it's like fun because now we just have this like awesome community. And if I ever need help with something, if I need help getting the word out about an event we're doing, if, you know I can go to these people and say, hey, can you help me with this? Because they're so excited to help us build our business, because they've been a part of the process since day one with our awkward, trying to be perfect videos. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's what we really try to focus on. And it's awesome. It's fun. And we love it. And we love the type of clients we get to work with now, because they know you're not perfect. You don't have to like try to live up to the standard, but they can trust you.
Yeah. Well, and so I've seen a lot of your content, and it's great, right? It's authentic, it's fun, you know, you're just real, right? And I think that is what is so drawing for people. And when people get kind of a behind the scenes look, they must feel bonded to you, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys get people who you've never really met until maybe they're your clients because they followed you on social media. Like, does that happen? Is that one of the perks of kind of showing a behind the scenes, this is what we're like? They almost feel like they know you before they've actually met you.
Yes. And that's one of the big reasons we started doing a lot of video, is because, you know, okay. do you ever watch like Schitt's Creek or Modern Family? Like, you know, those characters, even though they're not real, like sometimes I'm like, if I haven't watched it, I'm like, I really miss Alexis and Noah. Like, I really miss hanging out with them, even though it's not real. We wanted to create that like idea, I guess, is like, we want people to know us and know us, feel like they know us, when, even if it's the first time they've met us. So we've been so my husband, if he has like a listing appointment or something, they're always asking about me, and then about our daughter. They know her name. They know about, you know, how old she is. They know she's obsessed with Frozen, and they know that I hate Frozen. And they know, you know, she just started saying this word, you know, they like know so much of our lives. And so that's just really encouraging that, okay, like our social media is doing something. It's building this community, and it's helping people trust us. And a bonus that we did not expect, and like didn't even really think about, is that we have a lot of other agents in our area, in our market, that follow us on social media, and it builds trust with them as well. And so that's been huge for us, because, you know, we're not the biggest agents in our market, you know, but I think that we really have a name for ourselves, and because of our social media presence. And when you're working with someone on the other side of the table, like, it's just so much better if you know, like, and trust that agent too. And I feel
Yeah.
like other agents have that with us. So it's like these agents that we've never met are like, oh yeah, I've seen your videos and blah, blah, blah. And it's just a very different experience with other agents in our industry, which is super important. You know, your, what's the word? Reputation. Your reputation
Yep.
is super important. And so that's kind of been an unexpected bonus of our social media and just like showing up authentically every day.
Yeah. And that's the bonus of video, right? You can really almost
Mhm.
build these relationships without, you know, you're building the relationship with a community versus one-on-one, right? And that's what
Right.
video allows you to do. And I think that's just so smart. It's so funny. We've called it social media for 10 years, but you're right. We too often just try and be perfect, and we're not trying to think about the community, and we're trying to put our perfect face on there because it's the internet and it feels like it lives forever. And so it's really when you do the opposite and you kind of find your voice that you can kind of break through with some of this stuff. So that's
Yeah.
great. I know you're a big fan of kind of being systematized, and you talked about, like, you know, no one really taught you how to attack social media in a smart way, right? Can you maybe talk through that? Like, what is, you know, how do you guys think about Facebook? How do you think about Instagram? Is it something where you're just like, okay, I need to post something today, or are you more regimented about that, right? Maybe let's start with Facebook. Like, what does that look like for you guys? Like, how do you guys approach that?
Yes. Okay. So it used to be like, oh, I know I should post, like, maybe I'll post about this local event happening this weekend, or I'll post a cleaning tip.
Yes,
A
a
house
recipe.
cleaning tip. Oh my gosh. Yes. I know I've posted them before and they don't get any likes or anything. And then I'm like, I'm talking to a wall. This is so awkward. So it used to be like that. And now, we have much more of a systematized approach, and it has helped us immensely. So the same way you would go about, okay, so going back to this 10 days of pain example, it was very structured and regimented. So like the same focus that you would have on something like that, if you're going to make social media like a main pillar of your business, you got to have that same focus, I think, so that you can stay consistent and you can stay engaging and authentic, and just making sure that whatever you post on social media is actually aligned with who you are as a realtor and what your business stands behind. So I've gone away from just like the willy-nilly posting, and
Yep.
everything is intentional. Almost everything is mapped out in advance. Even if it's just like, oh, on this day, I'm going to post a personal post of whatever I'm going through that day or something. But kind of what we do now is we plan in quarters. So I used to plan monthly. Okay, well, I used to plan like, okay, every day I wake up like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
But not only just for my social media, you know, I started planning. I used to do monthly, and then it was kind of like I would just lose track. It's hard to go back every month and be like, okay, what am I doing next month? So my sweet spot is planning quarterly. So I have this big wall calendar on my wall. I could show you, but okay, can I?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see it.
Okay, so here's my big wall calendar. Now, obviously, it's not up to date because I put it in my little calendar now. But that just helps me so much to be able to see things like laid out. So we have different events that we want to promote, or we do a VIP group now that's on Facebook, and we also do a text club. So it's ways of like giving back. We do like coffee giveaways. We do random trivia things just for people that have supported our business or whatever.
Yep.
And so we have those dates on the calendar. We just like make sure that all of our marketing is in line and all of our marketing is like planned out to make sure we actually hit our goals, instead of just, oh, this year I want to do 30 closings, whatever. Great, but like, what are the actionable steps that you're going to take to get there? How is
Yeah.
my social media marketing like aligned with that? And how is that actually ending up from my monthly calendar or my wall calendar into my daily to-do list?
Yeah.
So that was a very roundabout way of answering your question. Everything is planned out. So something that's helped us now is doing like 5 pillars. So we have instead of just waking up and being like, okay, what am I going to post today? Kind of narrow it down. Okay, so like, what are 5 things you're passionate about that are easy for you to talk about? So for me, it's like being a wife, real estate,
Yep.
and my daughter. And well, it used to be my cat, but he kind of got pushed out to the side.
Upgraded to daughter.
What?
Upgraded to daughter, from cat
Yeah.
to daughter. Yes.
Yeah. Or even just like coffee, or like like I'm a huge planner person. So planning.
Yeah.
So like 5 things, I call them your 5 content pillars that you can post about. And you're just rotating through those 5 things, kind of helps you have a little bit more structure. And also helps you balance your like sales, your promotional posts about your real estate business with your personal posts and things that just excite you, or things you're passionate about, or just showing people that you're real. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. So it sounds like you kind of have your 5 pillars. One of those is real estate. The others are things that you're passionate about. I think that's smart too, because someone might relate to the planning aspect to it, but maybe they don't have a daughter, right? And someone else might have a daughter, and they kind of relate with you on that level, and but they don't have a cat, right? And so I think that's smart. And so that's where your planning comes in, is you're saying, okay, so are you trying to knock out one post or story about one of those things every week, every day? Like, or have you kind of drilled it down that much, or is it just kind of, hey, we're going to try and talk about these things on a rotating basis, however often that looks like?
Yes, it's kind of a rotating basis. And then this is huge too, is like I plan out I have my overall overarching plan for my marketing. That's 90 days. From there, 1 day a week, I plan out all of my content for the whole week. And then I schedule it out. And that is so helpful, so that you're not stuck scrolling, because we're all guilty of that too, and then, there's nothing better than like waking up, especially if you're on vacation, and then you wake up and you have all these likes. You're like, oh, wow, I posted something at 7:05 this morning, when I was still asleep, because it's already scheduled in advance. So that's super helpful. What was your question? Oh, do I rotate them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those topics, so you're scheduling them out, and you kind of know, okay, I've touched on this, and this week, and that's kind of good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like you have to, I'm not like super particular about, okay, did I post about coffee this week? It's just kind of help me if I'm left like, if I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to post, and I don't want to post another cleaning tip on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Post about your coffee. Who doesn't love coffee, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So Facebook, so you say you get a lot of business from Facebook. It sounds like you have a Facebook group that you've created to kind of take engagement to the next level. That's like your community, people that have kind of contributed to your business, or what does that look like?
It started off as it was just for past clients. And so we do monthly giveaways for it. Really nerdy monthly like trivia questions sometimes. And sometimes we just do like, hey, go to Starbucks. Here's a barcode. Go to Starbucks and get some free coffee. This was not my idea. This was from another agent, and I don't know who it was. I can't take the credit for the VIP group, because it's a great idea. And now we've expanded it. So instead of just being for our past clients, it's like anybody who we consider a friend. We put our family members in there, still past clients, of course. Anyone that has asked us a question about real estate or likes our stuff anywhere, we'll just invite them to this VIP Facebook group. And so I think that's a unique way. Yeah, it's super fun. And I think that's another way to like build that community too. It is an investment. So we probably spend about $100 a month. Sometimes it's like a trivia, like what's Zach's favorite, I don't know, candy or something like really dumb. Yeah. And they submit their answers, and then we choose one winner for like a $50 or $100 Target gift card, stuff like that. So it costs a little bit of money. You can do it much cheaper than that, but it's a really good way to show people that, you're just generous, and there's no strings attached to it. Like you don't have to, they don't have to do anything to be a member of this group. besides like support us, but
Yeah.
it's a good way to also like keep people engaged and like stay top of mind with people too in a different way.
Yeah. And that's really the goal of social media, right? And so I love that you kind of expanded it to the group. It's not just posting listings and hoping you get a bunch of likes. It's
Yeah.
really, again, goes back to what you're talking about. It's building a community. It's, fostering these relationships. And the group sounds like a great way to kind of say, hey, welcome to the club. Like, come hang out with us.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. And I think social media it's a great way to kind of remind people that, hey, you're out there, right? You might talk about the coffee, you might talk about your daughter, you might talk about the cat, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a gentle reminder like, hey, we're still out here, we're doing business, we're here to support you. Thanks for supporting us. And so I love that you kind of have a full circle there with, not only the platform, so, Instagram and posting to Facebook, but you actually kind of brought people into a group and said, it's almost like it's a VIP club. That's exactly what it is. It's a nice little way to kind of add a special touch to it all. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. I think people like it.
Yeah, it sounds like they do. I hope I get invited in, but maybe not.
Oh yeah, I'll invite you. I will invite you.
Awesome. What other tips do you have for people who are thinking about social media or just on the fence about it, or nervous about it? They want to feel like, or they feel like they have to be perfect, like we're talking about the game. Any tips or tricks for those folks?
I think it just takes time, and in the beginning, we were very awkward. Oh my goodness. Like it's cringeworthy. I wish I could show you on here. Like we did this like series called Realty from A to Z. So my name is Allie. My husband's name is Zach. It was like a gift that we had to do this video series.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. We're like, so like uptight and like awkward and nervous and but we just did it, and we committed to these videos, and it was like we went through the alphabet with different real estate terms.
Yes.
From appraisal all the way to Zestimate. And that was a good way for us because we just we had to finish it. We had to get to Z. Yep. And so it kept us accountable. It kept us consistent. And now, like after doing that, when you commit to something like, okay, I'm just going to do these videos, or just commit to like posting about, a little bit more of your life, you'll get used to it. And now it's like we hop on a video. We don't watch the replay. We don't edit. We do a lot of live videos, and it's fine. Yeah. So I think just the time and the practice, like you will get better, but you have to commit to doing something to get you past the awkwardness.
Yeah. And it happens for everybody, right? Like that's it. I think people watch social media and they see people that are super comfortable, and they're like, these people are naturals. And I don't know anyone who's just a natural in front of the camera, right? And so it's one of those things, you just have to put the work in, you have to do the reps. Otherwise, you're never going to get to that point, And I think one advantage though, is when you're first starting out, there's not going to be a ton of people watching, right? So if you can get those reps in and you can do it and you can get through it. And I've done a million videos where I stumbled through the words and I hated it and I didn't feel like I was on my A game. But you're just like, okay, I'm just going to post it and I'm just not going to rewatch it and I'm not going to look at it because I need to get it done, right? And I just need to chalk it up as like I tried, and then we'll go to the next one next week. You know what I mean? And but I think you have to do those things, otherwise you'll never truly be comfortable. And do you feel like that's a big piece of kind of finding your voice and being authentic, is like you just have to go through enough reps to feel like, okay, I'm not going to post something and the world's going to end, right? It's okay, to be authentic.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you don't want to have that mindset of like, oh, no one cares, no one's looking at this, but also it kind of helps to have that mindset.
In the beginning, totally.
Yeah. And also like what I wish I would have done, because now I have my husband. And so we usually do all these videos together, and it helps so much to have someone else with you. So if you I wish I would have teamed up before I met my husband. I wish I would have teamed up with some other agent in my office and done more videos together. And it doesn't matter. Like you shouldn't be in competition with each other. It doesn't matter. It's just about, maybe it's like another friend. I don't know, like just teaming up with someone. So it's not just you, and you can work off of each other's humor, and it's just more of a natural conversation.
It could be a partnership. It could be you could form a real estate team, or it could be a lender or a title company rep or an accountant or someone, you know what I mean? A friend that's, that's open to that stuff. I love that idea, because you're right. Sometimes you feel extra vulnerable being the one person just,
Mhm.
I'm here and that's it. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah.
that's great. That's great. So I think we talked about, and again, I'll apologize for not maybe going through the questions exactly, but we talked about Facebook, and that's been the most beneficial for your business. Instagram, is there a different way you approach Instagram versus Facebook, or?
Yes. And I'm working on blending them together. A really good course that I took is Jenna Kutcher's Instagram Lab.
Okay.
And I think that helped me like broaden my eyes to more storytelling on Instagram, and more kind of like taking people along my journey on Instagram, things I'm learning in my family life, really personal stuff. And then, having more, okay, this is a huge tip. Show up like your face. People want to see your face.
Yeah.
And the posts I've made that are just like an image, like get like 7 likes, and it's, it just doesn't connect people with you, I guess.
Yep.
So on Instagram, I've really been trying to like take awkward selfies. Oh my gosh, just do it. Take the selfies, get your face in front of the camera, and open up a lot on Instagram. And I've now taken that more into my Facebook strategy as well. But it's more so on Instagram that it's really about like the image, I guess. The actual Instagram image. Yeah.
Right. And that's how people connect with you, right? Like
Right.
that's ultimately how they build that connection. I've heard that before. It's like, if you want to be big on Instagram, you have to show your face on there like every day for a year, right? That's kind of the mindset you have to have. And maybe it's not that much, right? But that's ultimately what people struggle with the most. And so some people think they can do social media by posting the house photo and stuff like that. And some of that will get some traction, but ultimately, if you want to build the real connections around social media, it's going to be about you. And like you said, your story and your life. And so showing your face is a big piece of that. So I think that's some great advice. Is there any like tactical advice you have? You've kind of mentioned about being systematized, like not just scrolling through Instagram, but like stories, Instagram stories, this weird thing where it's like, you have to go on and you can't schedule a story as far as I know. Right. So any tips and tricks? Is it just like, hey, I'm going to go post this story and then I'm exiting out of the app as quickly as possible? Or do you try and set like those iPhone timers? And like, do you have any tips and tricks on that? Like, how do you approach social media without getting sucked in?
Yes, that's huge. I mean, I'm guilty of getting sucked in, but
Me too.
what I do is I usually have my 1 hour a week where I set a timer. I did it with my friend. I called it Wine and Work. She's not a realtor, but we would go on Zoom. We started this like during the pandemic. We would go on Zoom for the first 15 minutes. We'd say, okay, these are the 5 things I'm going to accomplish in the next hour. And mine was all like, I'm going to post this on my social media, which is all planned out in advance because of my scheduling, whatever. Anyways, and then I would set a timer for an hour, and we would just like mute everything and turn our cameras off. And that's when I post. I use Plan, PLANN, as my planning, which there's a ton of them. That's for Instagram, but that one's nice because you can do it on your desktop. And so you're creating all that content on your desktop, and there's not really a good way to scroll Instagram on your desktop,
Yep.
Or you can even schedule out your content in Canva now, on Facebook and Instagram, and in Facebook, like from your business page. So I use a lot of those tools so that I'm not actually like in the app scrolling. Or sometimes what I actually often do too is write all of my captions out in like a Google Doc. So then I just copy and paste. For stories, that is one, like Instagram stories, Facebook stories, that is one area where things are like spur of the moment.
Yep.
And yeah, you just have to be careful with that. But most of the time, yeah, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to like take this awkward, tell people what I'm doing today, or snap a picture and share it in my story, and then I'm going to exit the app. And that helps not only with timing, but also like, it is hard to put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. So don't get caught up in like checking like, oh my gosh, I only have 3 likes, blah, blah, blah. So just like forget about it, put your phone away and get into real life,
Yeah. And we're all guilty of that, right? Like I post stories and then I'm looking at how many people have looked at it. Is it, yeah, and
Yeah.
you look back like 2 hours later, like, oh, maybe I should delete that, right? But you're right. You just kind of have to forget about it. So I like that. So if it's a post to Instagram, you're using a scheduling tool, you're being methodical about it, you're scheduling that time out. And then if it's something like a story, it's spur of the moment, but you post it and then you try and move on and you try and forget that, and do you give yourself like a certain amount of time a week to like try and digest Instagram to figure out like what the new trends are or things like that? Like, is that something you're thinking about, or is it, you end up down the rabbit hole every once in a while and that's where you're kind of consuming some of that stuff?
Yeah, I end up down the rabbit hole sometimes. I was thinking about, we just got a new CRM. This is kind of a tangent, but I promise I'm going to come back around.
Yep.
We just got a new CRM with my company, and I've been playing around with it. And I joined a Facebook group that talks about what the CRM has to offer. People like, give tips and tricks and stuff. And there is so much. It is just overwhelming, the amount of tools in the CRM. It's very robust, which is great. But also like, I'm not going to use half of it. And I just have to be okay with that. Like I'm going to strategically use certain things about it. And I feel like that's the same for social media. Like there's so much to it. You can get caught up in the Facebook ads, Instagram ads, what to post, or like, what's the best, what presets should I use on my photos so they all look similar? And like, don't do that. And maybe that's bad advice. I don't, but for me, it's like, I'm going to be strategic in what I know and what I know is going to give me the results. And I'm going to forget about all the shiny objects about social media. Just like in my CRM, like there's a ton of stuff I'm not going to be using, and it's okay. So as I'm like scrolling, I do try to like, in my own time when I'm just whatever, not doing anything and I'm just like scrolling, I do kind of think about, okay, like this is on Reels, like this is music I've seen a lot. I'm going to save the music so that I can get back to it later. Or like, this is a note, like, okay, this is performing well, but try not to get too caught up with comparing. And, it's always changing. So don't get too caught up in going down the deep end, I guess.
Yeah. Being authentic and being consistent is more important than having all of your content have the same filter. So it's the same shade of white or whatever, or the same pattern. Right. So, I love that. And then, if you're going to end up down the rabbit hole, then take some mental notes, right? And take some notes on what's working. Is it Reels, or is it, did Reels go away and it's the next thing, right? And make a mental note of that and think about implementing that later on. But, you don't have to stop everything you're doing and connecting with your audience to implement that. You can just kind of do that in your own time.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic advice. Awesome. Any routines? And we talked about some of this, so routines that you have that are, maybe they're separate just for real estate. I mean, we got a lot of new real estate agents that kind of watch this. Or any routines or things in your business besides kind of the weekly and quarterly planning that you've found beneficial, like morning routines or things like that?
I am the worst person to ask about a morning routine. But maybe this is advice in itself. I used to, I did the miracle morning, which was so awesome, but I have a 2-year-old now, and life is very different. And, a lot of the times I'm just waking up to the sound of my daughter crying or knocking on the door, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, it's okay. And like, you can still be successful if you're not perfect, and the same, it's just like your social media, whatever. So yes, I'm the worst person to ask about a morning routine because my life is a little chaotic, but I think like for me, honestly, is dedicating my 1 hour a week to making sure that my social media is on point and scheduled and planned out is the key. If I get that done, I feel really good. Because
that's kind of your lead gen, right? I mean, that's exactly what you're using as your lead gen. You're kind of prioritizing that and setting time specifically for that. That's your routine. I love that.
Yes. And I'm never going to write a book about a great morning routine because I just, but it's okay. I'm here.
And that's a great message, right? I not everybody is morning routine people, and not everybody, we are in such a culture these days of like, you see other people like Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's like work 20-hour days and, some people that's their speed and other people it's not, right? And so figuring out what your cup of tea is, whoever's watching or listening, figuring out what makes sense for you with your lifestyle, and figuring out how you can be productive and how you can get that one thing done that's important to your business is ultimately the most important thing. So I think that's great advice.
Yes. Great.
You're knocking it out of the park. It's great. Any books, podcasts that you found helpful for agents?
Yes. Agent Rise, formerly called Onion Juice. It's with Neil Mathwig. Have you heard of him?
No, but I'm intrigued.
He has literally changed my life. And now Neil is our business coach. So we meet with him every Monday, but he is very focused on authenticity and being real. And he is the one who really helped encourage me to go for, like, follow my gut and don't do the cold calling. Don't do the door knocking, do what feels right for you. If you feel like door knocking is like your sweet spot, then do it. And if you don't, and if you want to focus on social media, then do it. And this is how you're going to, really be effective with it. So Agent Rise podcast. And he also has like a Facebook page too, probably an Instagram, but, and then I also like following people that don't necessarily do real estate and how they're doing their marketing and emulating. Is that the right word?
I think so. Yeah.
Something like that. How can I incorporate, things I would have never thought about because other realtors aren't doing it or aren't talking about it. So I really like Jenna Kutcher. I've mentioned she has a Gold Digger podcast. And my favorite, which sometimes it, really doesn't pertain to real estate, but oftentimes, I've taken a lot of what she teaches. Amy Porterfield, Online Marketing Made Easy podcast has been hugely beneficial. But as far as like real estate specific, Agent Rise.
Awesome. I will, for anyone watching on YouTube, I'll put those links in the description so you guys can all check out all those. I think looking at real estate is great. If you can kind of see what other people are doing in other markets, but then looking at other mediums and other industries is, we all know real estate agents aren't the best at everything, right? And even though there's a million of us, there's other people doing marketing better or social media better or product, whatever the thing is you're looking for. So I really like that, kind of looking at getting your inspiration from other places and kind of pulling from all those. So that's fantastic. Yeah. Awesome. Any other tips or tricks or things and we'll talk about your webinar and course here in a second, but anything else that you wanted to talk about on this podcast that I forgot to ask about because I'm a horrible podcast host?
Well, I think something I'm really passionate about sharing is my story, because when I was a new agent, I would attend tons of courses, classes, and which I'm really grateful I did. However, sometimes it was very discouraging to hear the people that were like breakout sensations. And, in my first year, I sold 100 houses. And like, that was like, okay, well, instead of being inspirational to me, it was a little bit discouraging because in my first year, I made $17,000 and I was also teaching dance full time and had numerous jobs. Like, it was really freaking hard.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes I felt like a failure and I felt like, I just don't have it. I don't have the personality to be a salesperson. And I wish I would have just like shut that out more. And there are so many agents that are super successful today that started from nothing and did not close 100 deals their first day they got their license. And so just don't get discouraged if you're new and you don't know if you're going to make it. Like, keep going and surround yourself with other agents that are going to speak truth and life into you. Keep going, because I'm so glad that I didn't give up. Even when I would go to broker opens just so that I could get the free lunch. Cause that's all, like, I couldn't afford to eat lunch.
Yeah.
But I'm here and I'm so glad that I stuck it out. So, I guess I'm just passionate about being like, literally, it was very hard for me to get started and I'm so glad I stuck with it.
Well, and I think those are the important stories we need to talk about. And that's part of the reason why I do this podcast is there's so many podcast episodes with team leaders that sell 1,000 homes a year and but there's not a lot that talk about like, okay, this is what it's really like to get into real estate. Like, it's hard. And most people don't make money in the first 6 months. And if you do, and you close 2 transactions, it's going to be $12,000 and not 250 like they show you on the Netflix shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, figuring out, at the end of the day, what's beautiful about real estate is everyone gets to create their own business,
Mm-hmm.
whether you go all in on social media or door knocking or a combination of both, or you come up with your own thing. It's figuring it out. It's kind of progressing forward. It's doing that next thing and trying to figure it out and sticking to it, but it's making it yours and it's not someone else's. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think those 100 sales people, 100 closings in the first 6 months are the outliers, right? That's in a lot of cases doesn't feel like real life, and it's probably not, right? So, just stick with it, and you got it. So,
yeah,
that's great. Well, I know you have a webinar and a course you're developing to kind of train agents on being authentic, capitalizing with social media, building their business through kind of this digital age. You want to talk about that? And I know we're going to put some links in the description. You want to talk about the webinar? You want to talk about the course? Which one?
I would love to talk about all of it.
Excellent.
Well, okay. So I am creating a course. It's called Systematize Your Social. And I think through everything that I went through on my journey of finding my own voice, building a business how I wanted, which was on social media because that's where I was finding the most success. I've created so many systems to make sure that I'm staying consistent, that I am posting engaging content and building that community, and that I'm converting those followers into actual clients. And I'm super excited to share that with you. So the course will be launching on August 17th. And something that you can take advantage of that is free is a webinar that I will be offering on August 17th, the 18th, or the 25th. So you have 3 options to choose from. And in the webinar, it's going to be like an hour long. And it'll be the 3 reasons your social media content isn't getting engagement or clients and how to fix it. So we'll kind of be talking about, the main kind of mistakes or issues that people make, and then how we can overcome those to actually get the engagement you're looking for and to convert and have a really good, solid social media strategy. So we'll put the links.
So yes, we'll put all of that stuff to the webinars and the course, and we'll put it in the YouTube description. So if you're listening to the podcast, click over to the YouTube video. We'll put them in the YouTube description, and then we'll make sure to promote them on the After the License Instagram as well when you're doing those webinars. So, but that's fantastic. I think if people aren't following you, they should go follow you, because it really, it's the other side of this picture. It's, you not only, talk the talk, but you walk the walk in terms of being authentic and being yourself and engaging and funny and all that good stuff. So I love it. I think you're a huge advocate for finding your own voice and being authentic. And I think we need more of that. So thank you for coming on here. And I think we went way over the time we talked about, but it was awesome. And I appreciate you. And we'll get those links in the description. If there's anything I can help you with, and people should go follow you. Go follow Allie and Zach.
All right. Yeah. Give us a follow.
So
you'll have a good time.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Allie. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.